everybody, and welcome to the SQ4 Commentary with Scott Murphy and Mark Crow. I'm Chris Pope, the guy that's going to try to keep things moving today. Hello, chat room. If you are out there and can hear me, I would love it if you would let me know. Excellent. It seems that I've semi got this stuff working. I don't want to go so far as to say it's working smoothly, but I hope you guys have been enjoying these things. So here we are, Mark Crow, Scott Murphy. Scott Murphy, how are you doing today?
I'm fine.
You're alive.
How is everybody out there? Glad you're all here.
Excellent. Mark Crow, how are you doing?
Hey, doing great this morning, everybody. Welcome.
Excellent.
Good to see you all here this morning.
Good to hear.
Here we are, our final week. Big push. We're very excited. We have some cool things we're going to be announcing this week.
Yeah, man. Yes, lots of fun stuff. We actually put out the third Phase 3 sketch today. Hope you guys had a chance to look at that. And, it's some really cool stuff. Don't leave the commentary right now to go do that, though. We would love it if you'd hang out with us. It also helps spread the word as much as you can, though, that the commentary's going on. That would be great and wonderful as well. So, to start things out a little bit here, let's go ahead and move forward. So, Mark and Scott, here we are. It's June 4th, 2012, all these years later. SQ4 was a huge hit. In fact, according to our survey that we did a couple weeks ago, we had about 3,000 people fill it out. SQ4 just barely was the favorite of the survey. SQ3 was a very close second. I mean, literally, I think maybe there was like a 100-vote difference from the survey. So I think it really could go either way if you think about it. But SQ4 probably did reach more people because it came out later. But so tell us, SQ3 ended. You guys tied up, and to use the words of Al Lowe, you tied it up in a nice little bow. Number 3, this could have been the end of the series, but you guys decided, or somebody decided, to create a SQ4. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Whoever wants.
I remember Mark and I were both working on a project. It was actually a secret project. We were in a separate building working on Mixed Up Mother Goose, as I recall. Wasn't that right, Mark?
Yep.
And Ken came over and said, "Well, guys, I need another space quest."
And I'm sure that was pretty traumatic. Right after, it hadn't been that long since you finished Space Quest 3, and then boom, here you go.
Yeah, we were enjoying life. I think we both were, weren't we, Mark?
Oh, you know what? We were having a lot of fun because I remember Sierra had pretty much relocated to its new facility, which was the Lubingo building, and we pretty much had the entire Redwood building, at least our portion of it, to ourselves. It was kind of eerie. We had that whole building to ourselves for the most part, and we were doing some very experimental stuff. It was one of the first CD-ROM titles, the Mixed Up Mother Goose thing with Roberta. Mm-hmm. And that was a very fun project, actually, and that was winding down about the time, like as Scott said, about the time Ken approached us to do another Space Quest.
Yeah, we had it was kind of cool. I mean, that was where the Mark and what's her face? I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but Cheryl, exactly. They were pioneering the. We had a scanner. And we had these things we called the washer and dryer, which were these two big machines. One of them was a tape drive. The other one was had a CD burner in it, and it had 4 650 megabyte drives in. No, they weren't even megabytes. They were like 4 monster 650 kilobyte drives or something like that. And it had a burner in it, and each blank CD cost $75.
Wow. That's craziness, yeah. Jeez.
And it was machine number 2 off the line from the company that made them.
Yeah.
So we had the very first one.
So you guys really were cutting edge in terms of all that, man.
And we had some fun with it too. That it's better left mention.
The thing about those the burners were that they were so loud. They were just like this deafening beehive, and they had to actually be put in their own room where they could be kept climate controlled and everything.
Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah, that's neat stuff. Actually, I remember a friend of mine having the Space Quest 4 CD, and I didn't really know when this was. Let's see, was it Space Quest 4? I can't remember. I just remember it was one of the very first Sierra games I had ever seen that was on CD-ROM, and it was this huge box that he had in his room, and it was like $800 device, that CD-ROM was, a huge one, and just blown away at how bulky this thing was. But then when I got to hear the audio and all that, I was like, whoa, this is great, Sierra. This made me fall in love with Sierra stuff even more. But made me into the Psycho fan I guess I am to this day. But that's cool though that you so
the key there being Psycho.
Yeah. But you guys just being so cutting edge with this stuff and getting to play around with it, that had to be neat. I mean, I love it.
That was a lot of fun, and it definitely was a kind of a springboard, if you will, for the technology that we were going to use in the next Space Quest game. Mm-hmm. And not just the text side, but the art, the direction of the art, going with painted backgrounds and everything. So everything we did on Mixed Up Mother Goose was a precursor to what came in Space Quest to a degree.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I know Scott had taken some time off, so I know the beginning of the project, Mark, you headed up the first, some of the initial ideas, I guess, that went into it. Before Scott came onto the project, how did you come up with some of this? If I got the story wrong, let me know. But how did you come up with some of the ideas for the time traveling? Because you started to tell us yesterday with Space Quest 3.
Yeah. I think Mark we covered that already. So
spoiler.
Mark came up with the time rippers.
Yeah,
totally. It was
for the benefit of. Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
I was just saying it was a brilliant idea that Mark came up with for the Time Ripper idea.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark. Sorry, I just wanted to give.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Shout out on that.
It's just like every game that Scott and I have done. It seemed like each one was more of a challenge to come up with something original to do. And I could say that the idea of the whole Time Ripper idea was kind of an 11th hour desperation kind of a thing. Billy Joel's Pressure should be playing in the background. Because that's exactly what it was like. It's like, oh my gosh, I think I spent like 2 weeks just staring at a blank wall, and I didn't have Scott there, unfortunately, and it was a very challenging experience. And then finally, again, the idea just kind of came out of total desperation. It's like, well, we could time travel, but why not do it through our own games? So maybe part of it was laziness. It's like we can repurpose some of our old Space Quest games.
Which was
brilliant, that's it, Mark. Your hallmark was really laziness.
Yeah, you're just the artist anyway. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm just the artist.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Yesterday it was funny because you said something. Oh, sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
I was just saying people have no idea. I mean, Mark's there were parts of the game that were totally art driven, and Mark thought up great things while he was doing art, and then I followed along, and then we would talk about things. So I mean, there was just no way it wasn't a team effort. But the Time Rippers thing was totally Mark all by himself, and it was fucking brilliant. I'm sorry, it was darn brilliant.
Darn it! Now I gotta edit this thing.
Appreciate the
sorry. I'm sorry, but it was. I when I got back and I saw that, I just thought, man, this guy's on a roll. I think I'll just kick back and watch.
Great stuff, man.
No, I was very excited to share with Scott. I couldn't wait to share with him some of the ideas and get him because I knew he'd be excited about it, and he was, and that just kind of fueled me even more to expand on the idea and develop it.
Yeah. Well, yesterday it was funny because you had said something like, I don't know if I had, fallen and hit my head on the commode or what, and it kind of reminded me of Back to the Future. I was like, I thought you were about to say something about the flux capacitor or something. But no, it's great stuff. Really cool stuff, man. Well, looking at the artwork of the box, Who did the box and the artwork for this particular game?
You know, I had said before and recently on a post or something that I thought it was John Shaw that did this particular box art, but I could be mistaken about that. Mm-hmm. If anybody out there knows, I would love for them to speak up, because is there actually a signature on the artwork?
I'm trying to find a mark, but the thing is that they have.
Yeah, there is. If you look really close, here it is. Let's see. Let me zoom in really close. I don't know if we'll be able to see it very well, but this is a pretty good scan.
I know his shoe sole says made in Xenon.
It's TB something. Can you see it on
Terry?
The
Terry, it could be Terry Robinson.
Yeah.
It is Terry
Robinson. There you go. Cool.
Hey Terry,
yeah, he did it. So he did a couple of. He did the next two box covers, I think, after Space Quest 3.
Yep. Very cool.
It has a very distinctive style that I really like. It's kind of clean.
Yeah. Oh, I loved this one. I loved the the brochures for the mall and stuff like that, the Galleria that was in this game, the stuff that you got with them. Of course, the Space Quest 3 was the same way. I mean, getting the glasses and the nose, but this was really neat, having all the extra little stuff, little magazine stuff that was in this box. It was a lot of fun. I'm sure everybody had a ball with that. Here's another look. I think this is the Crucial Entertainment. This is the other box scan that I had. Coming up.
I apologize to people who said that there was an EGA version of this. I see on the stickers now that it says there was.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, actually, that was the version I had originally. I just had a little 286, I think, and I would always go there. I remember going to the store near where I lived called Micro Center. And this is where I bought all of my Sierra games at the time, and seeing the mall sequence, whoever the employees had been playing the game in the spare time, but that's where they were, and it seems like I remembered going to buy another game, because I didn't know there was another Space Quest out, because it had just come out, and seeing that game and like, oh my god, I had to beg my dad to get it, because I know it was more expensive than the one I had gone there to get, but he was in the mall, and it was like the graphic. I was blown away by the graphics. I'd never seen graphics like that. But my dad's like, well, you can get it, but it's not going to look that good on your computer. Because all I had was an EGA, and they were playing it on a VGA. I was like, I don't care. I want it anyway.
Thanks for being a wet blanket, Dad.
I was like, give me a VGA, but he took pretty good care of me when it came to that stuff. He had went and got out, when Sound Blasters and Ad Lib and all that stuff came out, he went out and got one of those like almost immediately. It took me a while to get a Roland MT32 out of him, but I did get the...
As we know by the picture you did.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Very cool stuff, though. Well, really neat. And then, of course, you guys got... Later down the road, you ended up doing VO with Gary Owens for the first time, and I think, Mark, you headed that up, didn't you, for this one?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how that came about. I know Scott and I had talked and agreed that Gary Owens would be perfect for it, and we were kind of shocked. I think when he actually signed on to do it, it was pretty amazing. I got to go down to L.A. To Hollywood and record with Gary, and that was an amazing experience. Something Scott got to do on the next Space Quest game, so I definitely know how he must have felt working with such a living legend. But that was an amazing experience that I could elaborate on if we want to go there.
Yeah, we're gonna do towards the end. I'm gonna do a playthrough where some of the best lines from the game and with Gary's voice in there. So that'll be interesting to talk a little bit more about that. I know I'd love for Scott to kind of emphasize. I know Scott has talked about how in writing a lot of the content for the game, he said you sort of pictured it as Gary saying it. Like this whole time, you always kind of pictured a lot of the narration being done by Gary, even before Gary was brought onto the project, I believe, which is really
definitely. Cool. From day one, I had to have a voice in my mind of who would say I've always been that way. Whenever I read a book, anything, and I don't read books quickly. I don't speed read. I just can't do it because I don't get an enjoyment of it. Mm-hmm. But when I was writing I always have to hear the voice, and in my mind, Gary Owens was the prototype voice for every narrator line I ever wrote. Mm-hmm. And so I for Roger, I tried to imagine what he would say in his voice and his verbiage. And for Gary, I tried to imagine exactly how he'd deliver it. And then it was just so unbelievable to me that all of a sudden Gary's doing the lines, and it was like, I mean, how bizarre is this? I still get goosebumps thinking about it. I know that sounds weird after all these years, but I do. It's just, you just can't imagine how thrilling it is when you write something for somebody and all of a sudden that person is actually doing your lines and having a good time at it.
Mm-hmm. No, that's really cool. Here's a picture.
Yeah,
of Gary.
I can't remember what the circumstances were, why Scott wasn't able to attend that recording session. He was tied up with another project, but that's a great picture. But yeah, I just remember being in awe. And Gary Owens reading Scott's lines, and Scott's right. He totally nailed it, and this stuff just flowed out of Gary. He didn't get tripped up on all the lines, and it was just hilarious listening to. There are times in the booth where Gary would start laughing. He would couldn't get through the line because he was just busting up laughing, and that was just those were golden moments for sure.
Yeah. Well, I did that when I did the little funny sketch we did for Space Venture when our website went live. I did that with Gary just over the phone, and he was laughing at the lines that were written for that as well. He was just cracking up, and I mean, he had me rolling. And I know I've said this before, but Gary, just my experiences with him he is just an incredibly nice guy, so friendly. Like, I got on the phone with him, and within less than a minute, he was telling me that, yeah, we have family from Louisiana that's in town, and they've been spending the day with us, and we've had a really good time, and he just, really just down to earth and friendly. And I mean, I work with a lot of voice actors, and most voice actors are really, really nice, but Gary, he's way up there in terms of how friendly he is and just so down to earth. There I am sitting there talking to somebody that I've watched in hundreds of cartoons, but then also Space Quest, and he's just a normal guy, just like a lot of the other VO guys and all that are. He doesn't take himself too seriously, even though he's got that voice that just cracks you up, man. So here's a question from the chat room, real quick for you guys. This is from Tom Lee 80. Did Gary Owens see the art while he was doing the lines?
Not during my session with him. I don't know about when Scott did Space Quest 5, but
no.
Yeah, so he didn't really get any artwork or anything to go off of there.
And I don't think we really wanted to consciously influence him that way. I mean, we just wanted Gary to be Gary.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's great, man.
We also didn't know he didn't have a computer.
Yeah, that was interesting. That's why we were joking yesterday or in the other one about the Xerox.
He's just got his Xerox.
Yeah, because Gary was like when he was doing the lines for me on the phone, he said, "Hang on a minute, I need to go Xerox this real fast." And I just thought, oh man, he's so great. I was just cracking up, man. He's like, I need to magnify this copy. He had printed the copy out, and then he needed to magnify it. So he said, I need to go to the Xerox machine and magnify this real fast. And it was just, and I'm not making fun of him. It was just so great. It was so brilliant, and just
he had to go hop in his time pod and go back.
Yeah. So if you guys are wondering, Gary, he might be a little behind the times in terms of his technology, but he definitely is. He's still got it. So great stuff, man.
Yeah, I think that's part of his appeal. Is he is that kind of classic TV radio announcer guy. And
Yep, no doubt.
I recall him stepping into the booth and saying to the engineer, "Are we going to be using the cans on this?" And that was my first. I'm thinking to myself, cans, and I don't want to seem like I'm some kind of just total rube, technological rube. And then it took me a moment, and then I realized he was talking about the earphones, the headphones, and and so on. But you know, in the booth, it was his element. I mean, when Gary steps into that padded room, actually, that sounds funny because I think I might know what that feels like. But yes, when he stepped in there, it was like bam, there he was, man. The switch was on, and he was just like the ultimate min voice.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
What I noticed about Gary is, well, of course, I don't think the technology existed back then, but you know, most people nowadays in this business have their own recording studios, and they don't even have to leave their house.
Yep.
Gary, I think he actually enjoys driving downtown and going to a recording studio and saying hello to everybody. Because I mean, when he walks in the room, everybody's bowing down, man. They know this guy's a legend, and they greet him very warmly, and you can tell he's got the reputation around town as being a pretty swell fella.
Yep.
And
oh yeah, definitely.
Consummate professional.
Everybody speaks super highly of him. You know, I was talking to Rob about him, and another friend of mine who's a casting director in Hollywood. She was saying the same thing. She's like, he is just the sweetest man you've ever. When she's casted him in cartoons and stuff like that before. She says he's just the sweetest man you'll ever talk to, and this was before I talked to him. So, yeah, I mean, Gary Owens, have nothing but wonderful things to say about him. And guys, I'm gonna try to get him down for an interview. I can't promise you I can get it done before the Kickstarter ends, but we are gonna do it eventually. So I'm sure we'll get him in there. So don't worry. But really exciting to have him on board. He was one of the very first order of business when we decided we were gonna, we were putting this together, was to get a hold of Gary and go ahead and nail down that he would do the narration for us and all that stuff. So really cool stuff. Well, let's go ahead and get moving with the commentary, because we got a good bit of ground to cover. The commentary that we played, it's going to be a playthrough that I pulled off of YouTube, just like I've been doing, and it's of course kind of a speed run because of the fact that we want to try to do this under 2 hours if we can, so that everybody can have some time to not be staring at the monitor for 8 hours straight. But we'll see what we can do there. The audio version I've got is probably going to be Sound Blaster based, but I will try to play some of the MT32 music. The music you heard at the beginning a minute ago was MT32, so I'll have to pull. I think this particular playthrough jumps straight into the game, and I may pull the intro to it later. I didn't have time to find the exact one I wanted there because there's other things I wanted to pull in here, but the game kind of just starts right out with Roger starting the game, and maybe we'll throw the intro in there towards the end. I'll try to pull it while we're doing this for everybody. But here we go. Let's go ahead and get this show on the road here. So I'm going to start that up. And guys, by the way, sometimes I will pause the video. And when I pause the video, you will, it may seem like it's freezing up. I'll try to forewarn everybody when I do that. Like right now, I've got it paused right at the beginning with the big ship about to fly over. So you guys should see that any second now on your side. But essentially, I'll try to warn everybody, don't freak out. It's not that it's not, it's frozen or anything like that. It could be frozen, but I'm going to try to warn you whenever that happens. I wish I could.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
I wish I could have a graphic that would pop up that would say pause, but as of right now, I don't know how to make this software do that. So, and I don't even know if you can. But I'm sure somebody out there has a better way to do it. But this is what we got to work with, and so we're going to go ahead and move forward. So here's one thing right off the bat. There was, and this is probably not true, but there was a myth that went around on the internet for a while that right in the far right-hand corner of the screen at the beginning of this game, that was a Leisure Suit Larry silhouette, the far right. And can you guys confirm yes or no?
No.
It's just like people looking at clouds.
Right.
You
That's
can
what I
see
figured.
what you want to see. There was no way that we would have
You guys heard it from the two guys.
Yeah,
that's the Virgin Mary.
Yeah. When we put Leisure Suit Larry plugs in, for instance, in Space Quest 2, when he was hung upside down, I mean, that was a hardcore plug. We didn't hint around, And if we would have done something like this, it would have been a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yep. Well, there you go. It just ended up working out that way, guys. All right, so here we go. We're going to start this up. Try to adjust my audio a little bit so I can have some of the music playing. And I will play some of the MT32 music as well. The music for this game was put together by Ken Allen, who I believe is in our chat room, and Mark Siebert did some work on it. But brilliant,
he was the
brilliant
department
stuff.
head. I don't know how much work he really did.
Brilliant stuff. Here we go. Might go ahead and actually plug the MT32 music in there.
Okay, everybody put on your MT32 out.
Alright, here we go. MT32 music. Huge difference there. So, obviously, I don't want to get too much into the crazy details here, but Scott, you've said before that this was a time when Space Quest 4 came out. This was a time where there was a lot of things going on at Sierra, and people were moving on, and the company, I guess, had started moving to Seattle at this point, or Washington, and the two of you guys were kind of having some dark times in terms of just the gaming and your feelings. Again, I don't want to get into company politics too much here, but does that kind of reflect the beginning of the game here?
I'm not sure about that. So I can only speak for myself. When I said some of that stuff, it came out as generalizations that might have reflected on Mark, but I know I was feeling I was feeling a little bit dark about the company, and the fact right here that we were forced into this icon-driven interface. But and admittedly, I was definitely having some stressful times in life, and for me it was darker, but the storyline actually, the storyline was actually appropriate for what we wanted to do. I think that's safe to say. I'm not sure, Mark, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I don't. As far as the politics at Sierra at the time, I don't even think I don't think Washington or going up to Seattle was even on the horizon at this point. Well, I could be wrong about that.
I guess
time
Josh Mandel actually just jumped in the chat room. Hey, Josh, by the way, and Josh had said something like 4 years earlier or something.
Josh Mandel, the man, the
but
legend,
I think as far as the tone of the game, I don't think there was anything influencing us any more than just the fact that, okay, here we got an opportunity to do some really cool
that was
artwork,
a doubt
and
one of
it's
the
not,
finest examples of
really pixelated or whatever, and create a mood. And I think we definitely wanted to take the player on an emotional journey and be able to start off with a dark mood, and we certainly go into lighter subject matter and stuff later in the game. So I think we ran the gambit, and I think that was just us wanting to get into the stretch our legs a little bit creatively, and certainly with the advent of the VGA graphics and everything, it allowed us to do something that felt more cinematic. And there's also that whole Hollywood envy thing going on here at this point in time too. We definitely were trying to create an interactive movie kind of feel.
Yeah.
More so than we'd done in the other games.
Very cool. This scene here.
Kind of an extension of Space Quest 3, but definitely, like Mark said, I just wanted to add that we were definitely trying to have more range in the game as far as emotion and so on, and not just stupid Roger, and so on. We wanted it to have because this was Roger's home planet, and it was like he'd been through a lot, and now here he was facing up to what had happened to his planet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very cool. It makes sense. It does. This scene here, Scott, you told me, and I didn't know this. Again, you guys are like, you didn't know this, Chris? But there's an Easter egg right here, isn't there? Scott, you had mentioned to me, and I don't have the YouTube clip, guys. I apologize, but go ahead and tell everybody about the Easter egg that's here.
It's called Neil's European Vacation, and it's something that a very good friend of mine, Neil Matz, put in. Neil, the previous summer, had gone to Vienna and a few other places, and he had some pictures that he brought back, and by this time we had a scanner available to us. So I think if you take a Buckazoid and you place it in a certain place in the corner, after this sequence, I think you're able to trigger the Easter egg, and then a movie screen drops down, and you start seeing Neil's vacation photos coming up in a slideshow. And
cool.
Neil brought up the idea, and I said, "Oh yeah, put that in." It was. I thought it was cool, and it's like something that people could enjoy. Whether or not they could, people would see it, it was another thing. You know, as with all Easter eggs, we didn't know how big Easter egg publication would be in the internet.
Sure.
The coming years, but so it's obviously more well known now. But yeah, Neil's a great guy. He's really a good friend, and he was really fun to work with. Just really a great attitude.
Very cool. Well, this is obviously a neat scene, neat idea. I guess I could turn I don't know if it's still.
Please realize.
Whoa.
You are Xenon's last.
A little bit of voice acting there for you.
Yeah, I'm not sure when National Lampoon's European Vacation came out, but I think that was stuck in our head when Neil came up with his idea, and Neil's European Vacation. I think he spent a lot of time going around Europe, drinking a lot, and so on.
Yeah, this was the sewer scene. Again, I don't know how much of the programming at this point you were doing a lot of. Did you do a lot of the programming for this, Scott?
I did a bunch. Yes, we had a much larger team, and we did part of the game. And then this is the game that we worked on that ended up getting stopped in mid development, so that so people could be pulled onto King's Quest V. We lost everybody, as far as I recall. Isn't that true, Mark? I think I was the only one that didn't go on King's Quest V, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, your recollection is better than mine on that, but yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh, hang on, guys. I had a window pop up on me here. There we go. Yeah, I mean, again, this was some of this and King's Quest V were the two, I guess, first Sierra games that had, well, mixed up Mother Goose maybe, but just the graphics just blew me away how good they were. Even on my little crappy EGA monitor that I had, I was still blown away.
Yeah, this was fun stuff. I enjoyed. I did a lot of the street stuff. Oliver Brailsford did the regional programming that had that thing that looked like a dismantled Maytag washer flying over and zapping you. I think he handled that and the Shrieker, but I did the game stuff like this here, and then Roger taking the unstable ordnance and going into the sewer and things like that, and him climbing into the landing gear of this ship. So I did a lot of that, and I spent a lot of time, for instance, on that stupid grate. You know, when it blows up and it goes flying up in the air, and that was I think I mentioned that previously. That it was part of what I learned from watching the classic cartoons that's about timing and timing, and so you know I spent like 3 hours on it, something like that, just getting that grate to go up, hang up in the right amount of time, land, and then bounce, and skip over as it bounced. I just wanted it to be perfect and to fit the graphics that Mark had made.
One interesting tidbit is, you know, with this game, we were trying all kinds of different, experimenting with all kinds of different techniques for creating the artwork for the ships and everything. And this particular spaceship was actually a photographed model that one of our artists built, and his name escapes me. Somebody might be able to remind me. But the gentleman actually had worked at Industrial Light and Magic for a brief period of time on some movie, and brought with him some modeling skills, and he insisted, it's like, we're going to build this model and photograph it, And of course, by the time we got done manipulating it and everything to try to make it mesh with the rest of the art, it looks like a painted image.
Wait, this VO here.
The powerful quad quark drives Rev to life.
Hearing it,
Time and space bend under the fibrillations of the time rip transfluxers.
Oh,
Your adrenaline and stomach reel.
Yeah, I don't have
I'll
Wow.
turn it down. I'll turn it down. I know you guys probably are hearing echo or something. Anyway, great stuff. Now this effect here is awesome. Scott, didn't you say something to me about this was one of the very first games at Sierra to have this kind of effect? This that you guys are about to see, I don't know how to even describe
the color
it.
cycle. Yeah, we had color cycling, and Mark had we talked to one of our systems guys about it, and I don't want to get him in trouble because there was another designer in the company of relatively high stature who was very unhappy to find out that they didn't have it available for their game. But the fact of the matter was that Mark thought about it, came up with the idea, we got it implemented, and then once we made sure it worked, we shut it off, and we didn't turn it back on until we knew the QA had signed off on the game, and then we went in and turned it back on so that it was all ours. Because we never got first dibs on any of the technology.
Oh, that's cool though. Really neat effect. That was another effect. I know it looked. I remember it looked a little different on the EGA version of the game, but it still was cool. Any way you looked at it, it was neat. Color effect. I know it was the first time I had ever seen anything like that done. This is another part of the game that was really cool. And I don't think they showed it. He just showed it by like having the shadows and the lady, the chicks, the babes. They didn't show it, but that was cool. And then also there's a shadow of the pterodactyl flying over too. They didn't show that, but that was just neat. Again, that's all the timing and the planning there was really cool. And this is just beautiful artwork.
So many great art touches. So many great art touches.
Yeah, I think this is my favorite planet of all the planets we've ever done.
Does it have anything to do with the latex, Mark?
That might have something to do with it, yeah.
And Mark, you personally drew the
hear
latex
that audio.
No, I didn't. That was Jane. Last name escapes me.
We just had it the other day.
Yeah, we were just talking about Jane.
Jane Cardinal?
Jane Cardinal, thank you. And Jane came to us from Mattel, and very good illustrator.
Very nice woman, too. Just the best attitude.
Yeah, she was great to have on the team.
Real boon on. Yeah. I love this effect of the shimmering of the sub under the water.
You male scum.
You male scum.
The last woman you will ever dump on. Right,
Yeah.
Nicole?
Jane did this.
Wow, I'm really lagging behind you guys. I'm still looking at the pterodactyl nest death.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't heard any video or any audio at all.
You might have to refresh your browser a bit.
I may have to.
I'm going to pause it on the latex babe of Estros for a second and let you guys catch up. So the video is paused, everybody. So don't freak out.
Now, I didn't draw the latex babes, but I did provide a lot of input.
So to speak.
I like your word choice there.
Those proportions aren't quite right.
So everybody caught up to the video.
Those look like total bolt-ons, aftermarkets.
And the video shoot we did for the character animation was entertaining as well.
You were there for that, huh?
Oh yeah.
Somebody had to direct it. It was the dirty job that Mark had to do.
All right, so we're paused, everybody. You guys caught up on the
The
video?
art director. Yeah, I'm getting a flow here now.
Getting a flow, okay.
Yeah, if there were ever some making of videos or pictures I would have liked to have had, it would have been from that shoot. And that's all I gotta say about that.
Gonna leave that right there.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start it back up then. Here we go.
Far away.
Yeah, I don't have the audio playing very loud. It's very, very, very faint in the background. So.
And the actor who played Roger Wilco in this game in the video shoot was one of our artists by the name of Jim Larson.
Oh, really?
Yep.
The name is familiar to me for some reason.
Yeah, a guy who later fired me from Police Quest 2, along with Tammy Dargan. They thought that Lorelei Shannon and I were having too much fun on the conversion, and
I wasn't aware of that. Jim Larson, really?
Yep. Jim Larson did not like me one bit, and the feeling became mutual. I didn't realize what a cutthroat bastard he was.
So, this next scene, who drew this one? Do you know?
I did not make the PQ2 women have large breasts. Who drew this scene?
We're going into the scene.
The submarine?
The submarine.
Actually, I illustrated this.
Very,
actually.
Very cool. This one, too, is just another beautiful piece of artwork.
I had a thing for submarines.
Very cool stuff. Here we go. I love the animation when you here in a second. It's great.
Whoa, big skip.
Yeah, it lagged. It seemed like it lagged a little bit there. And I love the little saw that she pulls out here in a second. Did one of you guys come up with the idea for that saw? What kind of
saw?
The little hand saw that she has.
You mean the
upper rip?
Yep, rip. That was That was Mark's idea.
That's great.
Hair removal.
That was totally Mark.
Hair trimmer. I love it.
Those things actually existed back then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they used to have infomercials for them. It's a spring that would go around and it would just literally rip the hair out of your skin.
Wow.
There was like a little cup thing there in the middle where the circle of the spring is, but that spring would just spin around, and the way it was angled, it would just grab hair and tear it out of your leg.
Roar. I love how they're like so tough.
There you go, Josh. Thank you, Josh. And by the way, good to have you back in the States. Josh has been was in Tel Aviv last week, and he's back.
Here we go, and then Roger's going to push the button somehow. I love this. I love the hand animation in this part. He pushes the button.
I'll bet it is, Josh. Glad to have you back, dude.
Reminds me of a scene from Jaws.
Any woman who had an epilady was a masochist.
So now the ladies of Estros, the babes of Estros, are in love with are very thankful for Roger saving their lives.
And I hope we warned many women to stay away from those. We'd like to think we did a public service.
And for anybody who thinks we're making this up, here's a link.
Alexander, hey bro, how's it going?
I think you posted that in Skype. I don't know if you posted it in the chat room.
No, I can't post in the chat room currently.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. Pause the video. Here's what Mark is talking about. It's coming. There it is. Wow, you're no joke. Retro product fail number 2. Wow. All right, back to the commentary.
Yeah, you just can't make some of this stuff up.
And I'm going to start the video back up here.
Man, my internet connection sucks.
Well, you're streaming a lot of stuff at once here, so. All right, now here's Scott's voice. Hold on, I gotta crank this up.
This is the rebel scum we captured in the Space Quest 4 time sector. He had just aided Wilco in escaping.
I got nothing.
The readout on his time gun indicates that Wilco was successfully transported into this time sector as you feared.
That is no longer a concern.
I'm looking at the girls holding Roger's arm.
Will surrender to us once he has learned we have captured his son.
I want to have your baby.
Then he will be destroyed once and
Maybe that's not the exact
Alright, I'm going to lower the volume a bit. Yeah, it's probably a little bit behind. I'm going to pause it on the Galaxy Galleria sign for just a minute here. So.
Oh, I just got to Wohal's head.
Yeah, it'll catch up though. My video is a few seconds behind everybody. It's the way the hosting account works.
Looks like Big Hairy Marty. That Big Hairy Marty.
I think that was also one of the first times we had done a meanwhile sequence to kind of fill the player in on what was going on.
Yeah, really cool.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Back at the ranch.
Yeah, that was an old thing from I don't know, it was Sky King or something weird like that. I don't know. Really, really old.
That was a great show. I remember that. Sky King.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, you had a guy. Yeah, it was that, and then you had what's his face, Roy Rogers, who rode a horse, but then the other guy who drove a jeep. So,
Sky King made a personal appearance in my small town back when I was a kid. At a circus, he did a gun shooting exhibition thing. It was pretty cool.
I got to see. I got to meet Oscar Mayer. They showed up when I was living in San Diego. I was a really little kid, and they pulled up in the Wienermobile, and this guy, I think that may have been one of the original, the little people from The Wizard of Oz. I'm sorry. But he got out and he smelled like cigarette smoke so bad. Yeah, Munchkin. And he was
Munchkin?
Yeah, he was just in a pissy mood. He gave us these little wiener-shaped whistles and stuff. And fortunately, I wasn't really aware of phallic references or anything like that.
Galaxy Galleria, where did that come from?
I think Mark can speak to that. I think Sandy took him to a lot of galleries.
I don't want to get in trouble with any of our lady fans out there, but yeah, this was just a place to go where we could kind of put everything that we wanted Roger to find in one one easy one-stop shopping kind of location. So you come up with the Galleria.
Yeah, definitely
as a destination for the latex babes.
My favorite part of the game for sure. Had a blast in this area. And then the artwork here, Mark, did you do that or did one of the other team members do it?
I believe I did this one, yeah.
Cool.
Mark really knew a lot about malls.
A lot of experience. All right, I'm gonna start the video back up. Here we go.
Meat race. Just so you know, if you look on my Facebook page, you can see I was in, and maybe it may have been heading back to Wisconsin, but I have a picture of me driving next to one of the refurbished Wienermobiles. It was about 9 years ago.
Skatorama.
I'm trying to recall too the time frame on this. I think this was wasn't this around Fast Times at Ridgemont High thing? So the time frame. So
I think we were all kind of
Galleria malls down in LA were kind of a hot place to go if you were into that sort of thing, and we were.
Oh, there's the two guys from Andromeda.
Yeah, I think Yeah, I think the waves from Fast Times were still washing on society then.
Radio Shock. I think that name ended up changing later, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the odd thing is I don't even actually remember that incident, but maybe I just blocked it out. It was getting so ridiculous. Ken was real paranoid then. Yeah, I'm still seeing it. Yeah, I'm just now Radio Shock popped on my screen.
Okay.
So I'm with you.
Yeah, I keep forgetting. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta look at the other screen, which tells me what you guys can see better than I'm looking at the video here.
You know, say what you want though about the upper lady. Roger has some damn fine legs here.
All right, that's the second video is about to end here. We'll start the next one up. Okay, next video is about to start. This is a 5-part series. Third video. I'm sorry, this is the third video.
That thing in the screen looks like a hardcore marital device.
Here we go. That's weird. He must have Oh, there we go.
What's left is boring home and business application software, along with a few inferior games. But feel free to look around anyway.
This escalator isn't going anywhere.
Are you looking for a good dad opening? We've got one coming in next week.
Alright, I'm going to pause the video when it gets to the hint book scene.
Big Harry Marty, yeah, the lag isn't too bad if we all rely on our memories of the game.
Alright, so it should be paused on the hint book screen. Is everybody there?
This is Josh Mandel's fine work.
Epic.
Everything written in this bin was his.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of give some tribute there to him here because I knew that he did all this, and for sure,
He had some great stuff in here. It made me laugh hard.
Latest sci-fi comedy. All right, I'll start the video back up here.
Oh, all the stuff that Josh wrote made me laugh. Yeah, definitely. It was great stuff, and Josh was a breath of spring for us on a lot of instances.
Agreed. He wrote some hilarious stuff.
Yeah, but Josh, you know, we could come up with titles, but you made them really jump and entertain people. So it was, I guess we can call it teamwork, but you carried the bulk of the load.
If we can, guys, when you respond to stuff in the chat room, if you can, read out the response you're responding to, so the people in the future will know what we're responding to.
We were lucky to have you, Josh. We were in need, and you didn't just come through. You excelled.
Seems like Scott's having some bandwidth problems. Oh, there he is. Scott, can you hear me? Maybe not. Mark, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
I had to shut off my internet connection and reconnect, but I'm back. Seems to be playing fine now.
Yeah, it looks like Scott's having.
Hey, it looks like
some bandwidth problems.
Bullwinkle. About Boom? Well, that bargain bin thing, that was a lot of fun putting those together. Riffing on other games. I thought that was pretty brilliant.
Again, Mark, when you respond to people in the chat room, if you can read out what you're responding to, that would be great, so that the people listen to this.
Yeah, in reference to the bargain bin in the mall, the whole concept of riffing on other popular games.
Yeah.
This is Scott Murphy, in case nobody can hear me. Oh, we lost you.
Hey, Scott.
That was in reference to
low, though.
Josh was commenting on the Boom parody the parody on Loom. Apparently, Brian Moriarty gave him some grief over that.
Yeah, I think we're still having some internet problems with Scott here. This is great, though. I mean, the artwork in this the suit shop here. Oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. But basically, did you come up with all the creative things to go inside the glass jars there, Mark?
No, actually, that was left to some of the other artists who worked on this room.
Uh-huh.
And actually, I'm not even sure what exactly you're looking at because I'm
yeah,
not
we're
looking
still
at
in the. Roger just got his clothes fixed, his pants fixed.
Oh, in the clothing
Yeah.
store?
Yeah. I'll pause it for just a second, let everybody make sure they're caught up here, because Monolith Burger is coming up, which is a favorite. And we're still, of course, trying to get Scott back in here. Scott is rebooting, by the way, so he should be coming back online here in a second.
Yeah, artistically, this game was a real challenge for me personally because there was so much art that had to be generated, and we had a whole team of artists working on this thing, so it was very difficult to try to keep everybody within the same style.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely a challenge.
And I'll back up just a little bit.
I don't know if people will pick up on it or not, but some areas of the game have a bit of a different look, at least to me anyway.
While we're waiting on Scott, I'll play some of the music from the Big and Tall store here, MT32.
Somebody asked if I missed the vector graphics at this point, and I would say no, because I think this was like total freedom to illustrate whatever you could think of, and if you could paint it on a piece of cardboard, you could imagine it, then you could put it in the game, and
yeah,
that was very liberating.
Yeah, I'd imagine so, man. So this is Big and Tall. Really cool on the Roland MT32.
Someone asked a question about where all these spacesuits came from, and really, I don't think we did too much in the way of. We didn't parody anything specifically here.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. Speaking for myself, I don't think those came from any particular movie or anything like that. They're all totally original.
Was there Photoshop at this point? Is what Otto asked.
No, good old Deluxe Paint, and I forget the other Targa paint program. Pretty high end stuff back at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, Scott's still trying to get on here. He says he's
having some technical difficulties.
Yep. And then, of course, I'll play a little bit more of the music. Here is... Well, they're going to be going into... Well, he's about to go into Mono the Burger. The Mono the Burger song is pretty much the same from Space Quest 3, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll go ahead and play that anyway. Mono the Burger. That's where he was about to head. That's where I had it paused a second ago, right here. It's paused still, guys, so you know. We're just stalling for time until Scott gets back.
Yeah, we didn't realize it at the time, but with the Monolith Burger minigame, we kind of invented the. Some people might disagree, but I look at it as we kind of introduced the whole concept of time management mini games.
Yeah, you really did. It's kind of cool to imagine. Yeah, you guys came up with that.
And the game didn't really turn out as well as we would like, in that it was a little clunky. Well, it was a lot clunky, but that was just the limitation of the hardware.
Yeah, and again, guys, you're hearing the music. You're not actually. This isn't from the video. This is just me playing the music. So don't worry, the video's not frozen. It's just paused at this time.
So we're standing in front of Monolith Burger still?
Yeah, standing in
Is
front
that
of
where
Monolith.
you paused it?
He's partway in Monolith, but...
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure I was caught up.
Yeah, just trying to give Scott a moment to get in here. I'm sure he's just taking care of his internet rebooting. Let's see, I probably have some questions, emailed questions I can ask Mark.
Sure.
Let's see. Answered that one. So here's one. This is from Nathan O. Shagnessy, and I apologize if I just butchered your name. It says, for me, the Time Pod in Galaxy Galleria was the most memorable part of the Space Quest series. How did you come up with their design?
The Time Pod?
The Time Pod and Galaxy Galleria.
Well, the Time Pod and the Galaxy Galleria?
Yeah,
because the Time Pod looks the same wherever it appears in the game.
Yeah, I guess you kind of already answered that, sort of. Galaxy Galleria, like you came up with the design for that.
Right, yeah. Definitely inspired by the popularity of the Southern California malls and influenced by some of our favorite movies like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And
very cool. Let's see. It says, here's a question. This is from Dylan Tim, I believe. What were your thoughts about the Sierra games being too hard and having to use hint books to beat them? Was it? I guess. What? And I know you kind of have to be political about the answer here. The idea is, I think what he's saying is, did you guys purposely make the game so hard that you needed to buy hint books?
That's what he was getting at, and no, absolutely not. I mean, it's just that some people, we wanted everybody to finish the games, and some people love the challenge, and they're not too hard. Some people want to just get through the game, and so we definitely want. You go to all this work, you want people to finish the game, and if it means they need some added help to make that happen, we wanted to make that available to them. Mm-hmm. But no, there was no nefarious design to make games more difficult just so we could sell hint books. At least I'm not in our camp.
Right. Sure. Very cool. Well, and I think you already answered this as well. The concept of time traveling and going back and revisiting some of the other games like Space Quest 1 and Space Quest 3. That to me, personally, was also one of the most memorable things of this game. I remember just being this is so cool. Wow, I get to go back and see Space Quest 1 again, and there's Space Quest 3, but darn it, I don't have my thermal weave underwear, so I can't get out of the... But it was still cool. I mean, did you have fun putting that back in the game? Did you repaint any of the scenes, or did you just pull it from the other game?
No, that was the beauty of it. We were able to just lift it right from the old games, and I appreciated not having to redo that art. That was great.
Very cool. Well,
now, that's not to say we didn't have to change because it wasn't a vector format. So we basically we're able to camera capture off those old graphics and convert them to a bitmap.
Here's a question from the chat room, Deep Shooter, one of the two. How much art did you draw in the game, Mark? Like percentage-wise, I guess, maybe.
Percentage-wise, I would say maybe, I want to say around 10-15%. That was just to kind of establish the look and the mood that we're after for each area. And just, from an art direction standpoint, just to set the style.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. And how many people did you have working on the art team? Do you know?
Oh gosh. I can't give you an exact number. I'm trying to recall, but I believe we had upwards of, between artists, background artists and animators, I think we had about 6 people, 6 artists.
Very cool. And were you over, I guess, you were pretty much over the team when it came to the art?
Correct, yeah.
I'm going to pull a picture up for everybody on the screen of the different scenes from the game while we're waiting on Scott, so that should pop up here any second for you guys.
Thank you all for the compliments. I appreciate that. I really am proud of this game and what we did with it artistically.
Looks like Scott is coming back in here.
In fact, it's actually kind of it's a little torturous to see these graphics because they're so pixelated and jaggy. And if you get a chance to see some of the original artwork that was generated for this, I believe Scott actually has some of that on display on the website.
Yeah, I put it up there.
You really need to see the paintings that were created to really appreciate the amount of detail that went into this art.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's see. Scott's back on Skype, so we're trying to pull him up here. All right. All right, hang on, Mark. I'll pull you back in here. Hang on.
Hey.
Hey, Scott. Hang on. Okay, Mark, can you hear me?
Yeah. Are we all back together? And
Scott, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
All right. Well, we are back in business. So, you got the screen, the video feed back up, Scott. I'll go ahead and get moving again here.
I don't have that up yet because I've just finally gotten the Kickstarter page back up with the link on.
Your mic is a little bit low, by the way. I don't know if you can up it any.
I had to turn it down because your voice was so loud in my ears. Is that any better?
Yeah, you sound good now.
I'm serious.
You sound great.
Thank you. Okay, I'll get the feedback up here. Sorry, folks, I don't know what causes this, but...
If you're in Alabama, please quit the torrenting.
Charge the battery.
All right. Let me know when it's up, Scott, and I'll start the video back up.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. I had to cut and paste it in. What the hell? God.
Don't worry, the chat room is patient.
Patience is not my strong suit right now.
Hey, that's a good idea. Lightspeeder says the E3 conference could be slowing things down. That's true.
No, I've been having this problem the whole time we've been doing these things.
E3? What's that?
Something that's not helping either of us. Okay, I think I'm getting the screen back. No video and no chats yet, but it's taking its time loading. Oh, there it is. I see Monolith Burger now.
All right. Well, I'm going to start it back up then. Here we go. So video should be showing up. I love, you guys are about to see the manager. I love the manager. Just brilliant. No shirt.
Yeah,
no
again,
shirt,
that's some
no
of
shirts.
Jane's work.
Cool.
Jane Cardinal's work. She come up with that character.
Yeah, that's me.
I hope I'm not mistaken about that.
It's not actually. It's not my voice. It's Josh's voice. Josh is a world famous actor, by the way. Not many people know that. What was the movie, Josh? Protocol, with Goldie Hawn. Josh is actually on screen in that movie.
I did not know that.
Yes, he is. I think it's toward the beginning of the movie.
Oh, the playthrough, the guy doing the playthrough decided to take the easy way out. We may have to put the time management, pull another video of that, but didn't show it. I love it too. It didn't show the text very long either on the screen, but I love how the text on that scene, and again, people didn't get to see this, but it's hilarious because it's like, you completely are like, if you want to take the wimpy way out, and you really make a person feel guilty for not wanting to do the arcade thing, and I love that. You could still not do it if you want, but you're gonna guilt trip you if you don't. I love it.
In a world where Josh Mandel is King Graham.
This is another great area. It's so 80s looking. Futuristic 80s looking.
Futuristic 80s.
I know, isn't that like a oxymoron? It's great, though.
Yeah, we were full of.
I can tell you exactly what inspired the entrance to the arcade is the entrance to Space Mountain at Disneyland.
Oh yeah, cool. That's a nice little tidbit information.
So everybody run there and give Disney some more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, you could do that. I think, I don't know, I'm not sure, but I think we might not have given you as many points, and that's not something that would be done in Space Venture. There would be an option for getting around it so that you could be an adventure game purist and still receive the same amount of credit for it. Some people like to be able to play around with the arcade games, and some people hate them. And we've heard the voices, and we were definitely responding.
I love
What's happening?
How frilly Roger walks around with his hands. That's just great.
Yeah, who was the character study for that, Mark?
For who?
For Roger in drag.
That's great.
I think I recall that was Jim.
Was it difficult to get the escalator?
The way his head was up, Tammy Darkin's ass. It doesn't surprise me.
Or the walkway, the automated walkway, was that tough to make that happen? Do you remember Scott dealing with the developers on that at all? Or?
Oh, it was definitely a bear trying to make it work out for us, because as you've seen, as I saw the other night on the Google Plus Hangout, the people who were playing Space Quest. Or one of the guys was he's struggling to get back to the door, and it was definitely a bear. It was tough for the players. It was one of the cool things about SCI that we could move, that we had the the ability to automatically move a player along like that, but it was really tough once they got past the door to be able to get back to it.
Right.
Sometimes they had to go and step across and loop back around again, kind of like on a freeway or something.
Yeah, still kind of just made it, more fun to me. A little bit trickier.
Yeah, but a little less adventure game purist.
He just got caught trying to look at him. The character is doing exactly what you said. I guess, at least on my screen, he is. Here it goes. You'll see it.
Yeah, definitely a lot of work went into the mall scene. A lot of work. A lot of people did work on this. This Space Quest 4 was when the teams just got really huge and seemingly ungainly. At least compared to what Mark and I were used to, we had to make a huge adjustment.
Definitely made it a challenge for sure.
We were used to having control of everything and not having to tell other people what to do, and just saying, okay, let's do this, let's do that, and then we had to start actually delegating, and it was less fun.
Here comes
it was definitely a challenge to have to let go some of the control on that stuff, and but as a result, I think there was some great stuff like these aliens in here. The artist that did all those was a new hire who he went on to do went to LA to do some traditional animation stuff. I believe he actually went to work for Disney at some point. But he came to us. He had done I don't know if people would remember this. Remember the little honeybee, the Honey Nut Cheerios bee? He did the animation for those TV commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Gary Owens never objected to any lines that we wrote. We kept things pretty clean for the most part, and he never objected to anything. Sometimes he needed a couple of things explained to him as far as what certain words were, so that he'd know how to lay down the line. But just because of the context, it was like, I've never seen this word before. I'm not exactly sure how it would go. But it was just a legitimate question. But Gary never, and at least in the session with me, never objected to anything. I think Mark's experience was the same.
Yeah, no, I don't recall him ever wanting to reword anything. I think he took it on as a personal challenge to get through some of the lines, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah, and sometimes when he would fumble on a line, he would just kind of go off on his own riff with it, and there may actually be some in there where Gary just kind of took it a little different, and I just went ahead and took the script and said, okay, that's the new line.
Here we go, Space Quest 1. Great stuff.
Yeah, we were, at least I was anyway, I was really nervous about the in-game in-jokes, I guess. I was wondering if we were getting a little too inbred with the humor on this game, as far as
hey, I'm
making
in Alabama.
Fun of our own stuff.
I'm in Alabama. Watch how you talk about inbred, buddy.
Was the Space Quest 1 remake out at this time? When Deep Shadow posted that?
I don't know. It wasn't.
I'm sure some of you guys in the chat room actually know that.
I think, Mark, you were on like one of your last projects, if I'm not mistaken, before going to Eugene. To Dynamics when Space Quest 1 came out.
I think you're right. That was about that time frame. So this predates the remake.
Yeah.
I love the Monochrome Bikers is a genius name. That's just great.
Yeah, this was fun stuff. We really had a good time with this. It was so good. It was so cool to see the old graphics rendered like this, and then just to play around with the dialogue, and have the monochrome boys.
Sure. Now this is obviously, the background was obviously a new piece of art because we didn't see this POV in the first Space Quest game. So yeah, that was kind of fun recreating the look of the game and combining that with the VGA stuff.
Yeah, but it was done so well that you wouldn't know it. It was really beautiful.
That picture right there, in fact, in front of the bar is probably my favorite Space Quest 1 scene.
Yeah, definitely.
I need to get that sucker enlarged. And
Cocodine says the Hercules gang, and referring to the monochrome boys. Yeah, for those of you with who are running the monochrome cards, I guess that would make sense. Totally. I wonder what this button does.
I guess the Blues Brothers were in there because they were the only ones that didn't try to sue us.
I think by then one of them was dead.
Yeah.
Purple sky. Oh wait, that wasn't Jimi Hendrix.
I was actually anticipating getting ripped for reusing the Space Quest 1 graphics in there.
Oh man, and that's like one of the favorites by the fans. At least it was for me.
Oh yeah, the Energizer Bunny.
Oh yeah, that got skipped over, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It didn't show up in the demo. I think we saw that on another thing, but yeah, Josh, I forget what you have you have a much better memory than I do, but our lawyer at the time, our company attorney, contacted Everready instead of Duracell, or was it the other way around? I forget.
It's Duracell instead of the
The other way around, yeah.
Yeah, and they said, yeah, well, sure, yeah, feel free to use it all you want. And they thought it was wonderful. You know, they were going to get a plug on it, and so the lawyer was happy, and he said, oh yeah, go ahead and do it. Yep. And I don't know, it really got to the point of just being outright silly, the things that we were having to worry about.
I forget the details on that, but we eventually got their approval to keep it in the game, and I don't remember what the arrangement was we worked out with them, but it was actually one of the approved product placement kind of arrangements we had with an IP holder.
Yeah, really in their best interest, man. It was good advertisement for them.
If you follow Josh's thing on the chat, then we got the nasty letter from Energizer. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm sure that the other people were just laughing their asses off. Well, these guys are stupid. But the thing was, ultimately, I mean, it was a good plug for them. I mean, even in a post-apocalyptic period, the batteries were still working. So, and
yeah, that's what I mean.
We didn't portray them in a poor light. We didn't bag on anybody that we made that we used in satire. You know, we never had any malicious intent. It just seemed like they should be happy that there's more exposure that we didn't even have to pay for. You know, maybe it's only going out to a few 100,000 people, not counting the pirated copies. And and when I say that about pirated copies, when I was starting out, I pirated games too because I just couldn't afford them. So I'm not pinging on anybody. It's just the way it is. You have money or you don't, and you want to see things. And when I finally did make some money, I bought all the software that I'd ever pirated. In fact, Sierra for a long time used our code editor called Brief. I think we had maybe 2 copies in the company, but amazingly we had 15 programmers, and they were all using it. And so Sierra was really, and even though Sierra was a big part of the SPA, and they would have software audits every once in a while, somehow we amazingly never got caught for it. But I did buy my own copy of Brief when I could afford it, and I bought games from then on out. But like I said, we were starting to make royalties, so it was a lot easier to do. Mark and I knew we were going to have a lot of stuff that was going to be pirated, and we just recognized that it was an inevitability. Some way somebody was going to get around it.
I don't think the playthrough does the Miss Astro Chicken either, because I think this is a speed run.
Boy, howdy.
The powerful quad quark
Short, sir.
Time and space bend under the fibrillations of the time rip transfluxers.
Incredible. He's asking what our favorite game is. Apart from Space Quest? Oh, well then, I don't know what to tell you there.
They don't play any other games.
Other games? There are other games? I had two favorites I think I mentioned before, and they were one was a text adventure, and one was an early just a monochrome game. It was the Peachtree Software, who we actually did some duplication for, and that's how I got a copy. It was called if anybody's familiar with it, there was an old series from Britain called The Prisoner, and it was on the Apple, and it was one of the most clever games I ever played. It was frustrating at times, but the ending was just great. And the other game that I enjoyed the most was Infidel, which is a text adventure by Infocom. And the description of the text description was vivid, and you could imagine everything that they saw in there. But the interesting thing about the game was, in order to win, you had to die. So that may have influenced just some of the things that we did to you in Space Quest.
This game, we move into to Vohal's area here. It's cool because it's kind of like, it reminds you a lot of like what the movie The Matrix, even though Matrix wasn't even out at the time. Maybe The Matrix, a lot of their ideas came from you guys, you never know. But also, I guess Aliens inspired some of the artwork here.
Big time. I just want to say before Mark says anything, I was in awe of some of the art that he popped out with this. I was just looking at this stuff and going, oh my God, this is great.
We're inside the, I don't know what we're looking at.
I might refresh
I'm assuming
it's Vohal's area.
Okay. Yeah, definitely was inspired and influenced by Giger and the Alien movies, and just about everything that he did. And again, it was an opportunity to create a different kind of vibe, different looking area. So more of an organic, biomechanical look.
It's cool.
Let's see. Chrono 85 was asking what our favorite Space Quest game is, and that's sort of like asking a parent who their favorite child is.
Absolutely.
Space Quest 1, Space Quest 1 is definitely, it was our first, so we have there's so much sentimentality in it. And then Space Quest 2, because it was, because I was the only one that programmed on it, Mark was the only one that did any art on it. But then Space Quest 3 and 4, we felt like we really did some great work in there, and we really stepped up the game. We made Space Quest 3 a game that people really appreciated, and we had a really good rating as far as the survey results, and we've also seen, as Chris mentioned at the outset of the podcast, that Space Quest 4 narrowly
outdid Space Quest 3 in survey, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Scott.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, here's a question from an email somebody sent in about this. Jacob Morgan. It says, to this day, I still remember 6965847669. Where did this number originate? But I guess, is it even the same number? Yeah, it is the same number, isn't it? Do you guys remember?
I can't actually remember what that is.
If you look at the screen, I've got
Wasn't
it
that your
paused.
phone number, Scott?
Mine was 6858.
So there was not any significance of any kind that you can think of?
No.
It's just a number you chose.
Could be somebody's phone number. I don't know.
I think it must have been somebody's phone number because I usually didn't just make up numbers. For instance, the SHSR in Space Quest 2 and
that was
things
Ken's
like that.
phone number, wasn't it?
Oh wait, it was Ken's number. Yeah.
Ken's. Oh, okay.
I was just kidding.
So there was some significance here.
No. Oh, we did actually use Ken's number at some point in one of the games, and that might have been the one.
Wow, that's classic. That's great.
I was kidding when I said that. But
no, you were right. You were right.
Oh wow, you guys, craziness. All right, I'm going to start it back up now.
Hey, you know these walkthroughs are going to get us into trouble, so I think we should just shut her down.
Yep.
Well, they don't have the same phone.
Leisure Suit Larry 4. This is great. This is where you can say that what happened to Leisure Suit Larry 4 was Roger flushed it down the toilet.
I'll take your word for it. I'm just seeing
yeah, should be video should be coming back up here.
There we go. Yeah, this was very cool. I loved this. I have to admit I was like I wasn't in love with Windows. And I think this was Windows. I think this was back in the era of Windows 3.0 or something like that. And I don't think I was the only one that was. I know Jeff Stevenson didn't love Windows. He was anti-Microsoft in so many ways, and since Jeff was so cool with me, I tended, and he taught me so much about programming, and for me, he was like an impatient person, but with me, for some reason, he was very patient, and so I kind of followed his lead on some things. We knew that when we went to Windows, though, that the games were never going to be the same.
So here we are going towards the end of the game, getting closer.
Well, when I see that thing with the yellow line, the yellow laser or whatever it is in there, I always think of a dentist drill.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, I think so. I think I had just gotten back from the dentist. That might have had some influence on design subconsciously. Or not.
Think of Jack Nicholson or Steve Martin, whichever version you watched. Little Shop of Horrors.
So Roger having to fight his son as Vohal, or Vohal as his son. Great stuff here.
Yeah, fight sequences were very, very tough in the system, even as advanced as it was becoming.
This is so much like the Spock and Kirk thing.
You
just need the weapons and.
Bring back DOS. I love DOS. I love macros. I love the old Norton, Norton stuff that you could use in DOS.
Norton Commander and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So many cool utilities.
Yep. Yeah. X-Tree Gold. There you go.
Yeah. Very good.
Used to use that too.
We got some old schoolers here.
Yeah.
Defragging them and stuff else was tons of fun. Yeah. Quarter deck. Yeah. Way to go, Josh. Oh man, we're digging deep there.
Yes.
I'm afraid if I remember some of this stuff, I'll forget things that are happening now. I'm trying to stick 4 gallons of knowledge in a 3-gallon head. If I put something in, something else has to go.
he's got to go down there and get the disc.
It's like Kelly Bundy, exactly. Who's that man? That's Dad.
I'm going to pop up the MT32 music for the ending here.
Yeah, I wonder what the music was like. It's been so long.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Pulling up the MT32 music.
John C. says, $40 more and we'll be at 316K for the second time today. Yeah, it's interesting how people are systematically lowering their pledges.
Oh wait, that's not it. This is it. Here we go. Video is paused, by the way, guys. Or no, it's not. There we go. This is the ending music. Or the music that would be playing right at this moment. Alright. So what are we seeing on the video screen on your end?
I'm still seeing the Roger fight sequence with his son.
Okay.
I'm just seeing them standing on the platform. Yeah. I haven't seen any animation in ages.
Right. I'll pause it then. Give it a chance to catch up. Kind of weird how that just happened.
No, we don't. Somebody asked if there's any reason why people are lowering their pledges, and we are not being given a reason why.
Well, yeah, there's some stuff going on. I mean, let's put it this way: Kickstarter knows why. So.
Yeah, that's all we can say right now.
Yeah. All right. It should be to the scene now where you can see Roger.
They're standing on the deck, on the flight deck.
Yeah. So now I'm going to start the music and the video back up here. All right.
Everybody grab a tissue.
Yeah. I love the background here, though. This is another scene that Scott's got the actual original artwork for. Beautiful. Like, I hope there's not drool marks all over it, because when I got to actually hold it and look at it, it might have happened.
Fortunately, a lot of them had the tissue paper or the plastic over them for the overlay. I should have taken some of those to Eugene, but I didn't want to get them crumbled up so that Mark could have some of them back. They were just sitting in a box, stuffed in a room, and they were, and so a lot of them were all bent over and curled up, and it was sad to see how the stuff was, all this great art was being treated. So
yeah, it might kill people to have seen that, but I remember in the art department there was one of those big art bin drawer, the multi-drawer art bins, and I remember that stuff was just kind of haphazardly thrown in there, stacked on top of each other, and the idea of archiving that stuff just never even occurred to anybody, I don't think.
Yeah, especially given the hours everybody was working, and all we were thinking about was making the deadline because the whip was being cracked on us, metaphorically, and not literally like in Space Quest 3.
Here's another scene that Scott has the artwork for. Really cool.
La Wankmeister. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm taking your word for it. Oh, really? Bill Hassey says his father-in-law is a paper conservator who can restore stuff. He does restoration for Coca-Cola's art archives. If needed, I can get you in touch. I wish we had enough of it to restore. Thank you, though. Beatrice Wankmeister, Alexander. How do you pronounce her name? Is that who you're talking about? Yeah, Beatrice. I used to think when I saw that name at first, and I was totally an adult. I thought it was beet rice. Because that's how it's pronounced, how it's spelled, and I said it in front of a few people, and they just laughed their asses off at me. Beet rice? What? You actually think that's how it's pronounced? I felt so stupid. just one of many times in my life. But yeah, Beatrice. I think that might have been one of the reasons it made it into the game. It was a scar that I had to purge.
I don't know if we've ever talked about it, Scott, in print or anything, but there's a lot of talk of people wanting the series to continue, and they want to know what happens in the future. And we set things so far in the future. We thought, well, we're never going to ever make a Space Quest 10, so we can just totally make some crazy stuff up. And here we are, so many years later, and coming.
Yeah, here we are in Space Quest 12.
About what would we do if we had to continue the series?
Yeah, we could always do something that interrupted the space-time continuum and nullify all of this if we wanted to.
Yeah, throw it all out.
That's one of the joys of being a designer. We could.
So here is
Yeah, wank is definitely quite British, isn't it? And actually, isn't, I think, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Peg Bundy? Didn't Peg Bundy's wasn't her maiden name something similar? I'm trying to remember now.
Here is the ways to die in Space Quest 4. As we move into some very interesting conversation, I'm going to go ahead and start that back up for you guys. So here's the video. Ways to die in Space Quest 4.
Being somewhat of an Anglophile, I know what you guys mean about wanker.
Here, this is great. So this is the cyborg guy, which is obviously inspired from Blade Runner. Is that right?
Well, it's kind of Clockwork Orange, yeah.
Oh, Clockwork Orange, right. I'm sorry.
The old Kubrick classic.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'll turn it up a bit so you guys can hear.
You've been a real pant load.
You've been a real pant load. There it is.
Surprisingly, no one has taken this small, innocuous-looking piece
Chris
of
has
unstable ordnance.
Chris Alexander's Animax.
You now have the unstable ordnance.
I honestly don't know how to pronounce it, Alexander. But Chris has a really good high-speed connection upstream and downstream, and so whatever problems are after his connection.
Yeah, guys, you got to realize I got a 30 meg down, and it's something like a 10 something meg up, and but I'm also hosting both Scott and Mark, and I have to have the chat room open myself, streaming, so that I can actually see where you guys are at. So, and I'm recording the audio for this too at the same time, so that we have a separate copy of the audio. So there is logic behind why it's acting so crazy.
Maybe next time we'll go to our 52K modem. That should speed things up.
Once we finish our $1 million studio that we're building, we'll have a
and launch our own satellite.
Yes, we'll have state-of-the-art everything. So that's right. Got my 300 baud modem going here. All right, here we go. Start it back up.
Alexander, you have probably about 40 times faster than I do.
I would think that something identifiable as unstable ordnance would be low on your list of fun and healthy things to carry. We hope you'll get yourself together and rejoin us.
We hope you'll get yourself together and rejoin us. So video should be playing again.
I wish I had seen that. I love that. I've loved that sequence since I worked so hard on it.
Yeah, it's lagging a little bit there. You guys are seeing it though if you refresh your screen.
Well, it's just jumping from screen to screen. There's no smooth transition. I just assume that's my issue here because of the location that's I'm unfortunate enough to be in. Oh, I think I just saw the green slime move, so that's
As the
a
green
first.
slime dissolves the flesh from your bones, you think, hey, this stuff consumes 47 times its weight in acid.
I don't think we. Somebody asked if this was a blob movie reference. I don't think we were actually thinking about the blob necessarily, but I could be wrong about that. Our art master may have a take on
it. That's a cool definitely.
Happens to important people.
That took forever animating that blob. I just couldn't get happy with that, and after a lot of work, I got something that looked decent. I just remember that being a real challenge.
This is a cool looking model.
I'm obviously not looking what you guys are looking at.
It just popped to the screen that has the ship in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah, now it should show Roger dead.
But I just remember this model being very cool looking. Yeah, things are just, they'd stay and then all of a sudden, bam, bam, bam. Screens pop by. As you've been a real pant load.
Scott, where'd you come up with the term pant load?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. I think that was one of those late night things. I definitely don't recall anything inspiring it. I intentionally didn't read and watch movies while we were making these games just so that I didn't plagiarize stuff. Because I was afraid I'd forget, where they came from, and then somebody say, "Oh, you stole that from such and such." And given my memory and my ADD and all that, it's just I tried to.
Well, I'm quite sure you didn't borrow that. It's all totally original. But I'm just wondering what was going through your head. What inspired that?
It may have been when I was reading about people, jet fighter pilots who would have to wear a pressure suit. They have to wear the pressure suits to keep the blood from rushing down into their lower limbs and
blood and other fluids.
Out. Yes, but they had this term called lily padding, and they would be grunting. They would be grunting so hard. If you watch guys taking really high G turns in jets, you can find those things on YouTube. But those guys have to grunt literally, like the Blue Angels. Those guys are like that, and they actually do what they call lily padding because that's what it looks like when they take off their flight suit.
Oh wow!
Oh, I thought that was prairie dogging.
No, it was flat. It was much flatter than prairie dogging because they were pressed into their seat hard
due to the extreme G-force and
exactly the positive G-force is
downward pressure. Yeah,
exactly. Nicely molded.
little stenciling there.
Little stenciling from the fabric around. Yes, definitely. I'm sorry, old adventure game 83. I didn't mean to help you lose your appetite.
Roger gets lots of holes in his back.
Just think of the fun, Scott, you're going to have coming up with a whole new lexicon for Space Venture.
Oh man, I know it is kind of it's both intimidating and exciting.
You've got a blank canvas.
Exactly, and I have to try.
So lily pad away.
Yeah, I have to not plagiarize myself now. I have to be fresh.
Sea monster.
I don't want me to sue me.
You to sue you. One of the voices.
Well, you know there's going to be a lily pad reference in Space Venture now.
I think that's pretty much in stone now. Yeah. Well, not stone, but you know. We didn't actually have launch parties. Somebody asked how were the two guys from Andromeda launch parties. Basically, we said, oh, it's shipped. Let's go home and get some sleep.
And, frick out of here and
I
find
think
a tropical island somewhere.
I think we had one launch party that the company ever had, and it was the absolute worst manager the company ever had. It was after Sierra had moved to Seattle, and we went to the person's house in Bass Lake, and it was pretty lackluster. No, we just really didn't have them. We just didn't have launch parties, at least not for our games. I know Josh took. I'm not sure if it was a Freddie Farkas team or what, but they went skydiving on one of the games. I forget. Josh would have to fill us in on that. I forget. Well, we plan on having a launch party for Space Venture. It was Freddie Farkas, Josh? Cool. Freddie Farkas, Frontier Frontier. Well, did I have that right?
Yeah, we'll definitely have a virtual ship party for Space Venture, and you're all invited.
Yeah, we also have the Oakhurst thing. Don't forget.
Yeah, especially if you pledge at a certain level.
Yeah. Yes. You're now being flown out there and staying in a hotel and all that stuff. So
sleep is not a synonym for booze.
That's the real ship party. I'm talking about a virtual.
Yeah, we may have a Google Hangout launch party for everybody who can't make it. Al didn't go skydiving. Imagine that. Josh was mentioning it. Somebody asked, I think. I can't picture Al skydiving.
Yeah, Tom Lee, I think you nailed it. Yeah, in our minds, Sierra's history is rose-tinted with parties every day. That's right, everything was just perfect.
Yeah, we had parties that didn't have anything to do with anything other than it was the end of the week.
That's true. I mean, we did have parties for sure.
When we moved into
throughout the year,
I know we had some. Yeah, we had Halloween and stuff like that when you and Sandy showed up as Space Ghostbusters, rather, and you guys always had the best costumes. I think I showed up as a freelance gynecologist or something like that. I was so imaginative.
You guys in the chat room, we could sort of keep things on topic here a little bit. All these fun deaths. Nobody's even talking about them.
Sorry,
Sierra. Yeah, we talked about. Somebody mentioned about Sierra staff going whitewater rafting. That happened in the earlier days. I think when Ken Foot
did we
started the company up, and they shipped some of their early titles.
Hey, look at there.
With that tailed off heavily.
I'm gonna pause the video for a second. I thought that the name of this thing had gotten changed for some reason. In just a second, you guys will see.
Yours hurt so good.
It's no longer called Radio Shock. It was called, what is it? Hurt So Good. Here.
Took we said to this. All I can say about this scene is that it made Space Quest 4 take 6 years to finish. It took 6 years to program, or at least it felt like it. Yeah, Radio Shack is fun too because on Space Quest 1, I don't know how Mark got out of this trip, but Ken made me fly with him to Dallas Fort Worth to the Tandy Radio Shack headquarters and to show a demo there. And I had the flu, something fierce, but we went there and and had to show off the game to them to get them to carry it. And so it just doesn't make any sense that I don't know what happened. Ken ended up hiring the guy that actually kind of raked him through the coals. Well, they said, "Yeah, we'll take this, but you have to take back all these products that didn't ship." And Ken wasn't quite expecting that. He kind of got ambushed on that.
So,
but he ended up hiring the guy's name was Srini, and that was actually the Tandy executive that we had to deal with, and that Ken later ended up hiring him, and I think that it might have been a vengeful act. I'm not sure.
Wow, I have never seen that.
What?
When did that actually have to change from Radio Shock to Hurts So Good?
Yeah, that was. What
I
was
honestly
wondering.
don't remember it, Mark. It's a surprise to me too. I'm not sure who did that.
Yeah, well, I remember the original when it came out was Radio Shock for sure. And
Yeah.
so it must have happened years later. Radio Shack must have got pissed.
Yeah, it was something that I thought Mark knew, because I have no recollection of it at all until I saw that room that the guys posted in the Hangout the other night. They showed that one room that actually doesn't show up in the Space Quest. I think the only way you could get there was during development. You could teleport to it, and because you could just go directly into a room by typing a certain command in, and of course, once we went to this, you couldn't type things in, but you could get there somehow, and it had the old Radio Shock sign in there.
Wow, Scott, we're going to need legal representation.
Yeah.
Hey, anybody know any good lawyers out there? Excuse me, anybody know any good free lawyers out there?
A half-assed decent paralegal would be nice, even. Question about SQ3 and SQ4 beta versions?
Johnny Cochran? I don't know, people might construe that the wrong way.
He be long dead.
Yeah.
Giving up the ghost. Johnny Cochran did that one a long time ago. Alexander says his lawyer nicknamed the guillotine by his colleagues.
Zap.
Ow.
I like that comment in the chat room. I've seen L.A. Law. Does that count?
Yeah. I watched Boston Legal too, so
We'll get you to represent us.
I follow one of the ladies that was on one of the really cool women that was on Boston Legal, and I'd hire her in a heartbeat. Denny Crane. That's right. I love Denny Crane.
There you go.
Denny Crane here. Denny Crane. Shatner was brilliant in that show. Oh, you're trying to hurt me. Pocket Pal. Forgot about that. That could have been so many other things. Matlock, how old are you? Not that there's anything wrong with being old. What was the Ronco fishing thing or something? Or maybe I was thinking of a different personal.
Or
no,
which
that was
Scott?
Pocket Fisherman. I think that's.
I think
the Pocket Pal. I know they had that Pocket Fisherman thing. I think that's what I was thinking of. That Ronco Pocket Fisherman was a little short
okay.
thing.
I thought you were talking about the laser blade thing.
Hooked on your belt. Popeil's Pocket
laser,
Fisherman. There you go, Josh.
Laser beam maze.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Josh doesn't own one. Josh has the most incredible collection of toys and things. Josh used to bring in his Easy Bake Oven and make things for us. In the writer's block. I'm not kidding, Meow God. He did.
My little sister had an Easy Bake Oven.
To Josh's house and
took freaking 2 hours to bake a cake with a light bulb.
Yeah, my cookie's almost ready. Yeah, ever since Josh became a nuclear engineer, I think it works a little better now.
Put a halogen bulb in there and just kind of melt the whole oven down.
That would be basically what would happen.
Meltdown.
Yeah, I'm serious. Josh had some cool stuff. He had one room just was loaded with amazing things. Not to mention some really beautiful animation frames and things that he collected. And
so, Chris, what would you like us to talk about?
Oh, you guys are throwing out plenty of interesting tidbits.
Little tidbits.
As long
not,
as the
not death sequence related, but
as we give the chat room. If you read the questions the chat rooms are asking out loud, I'm a happy camper. So, just want to make sure people listening to this in the future can actually
Space Quest historian talks about 30 Space Quest fans showing up with Andromeda noses, and we talked about that in the in the hangout about having a flash mob. Unfortunately, we're all on different continents, which makes it a little bit difficult, but having everybody show up with their nose and glasses on in Grand Central Station or something, I think that would make the news. Especially with those noses.
That would be awesome. With the cardboard noses, you mean?
Yeah, definitely. Everybody showed up in Red Hawk mohawks. A flash mob of 2, yeah. How many can you get together in Denmark? Trolls. Flash mob time. We need one. That would be an awesome picture, wouldn't it? And one Finnish guy. Well, we're up to 2 in Denmark. I think we can get a group in the Netherlands near The Hague, or right there at The Hague. I think there's a group of people in a building with glass walls that would gladly do so. Yeah, this is where the the color cycling really came in first. Once we made sure it worked, that's what it was. I had to turn off so that when people fired up the QA copies of it, nobody would know that it was actually in our game, so that we could have it for ourselves. Our one innovation, our one system innovation, I should say. There were plenty of innovations within the games.
Playing the intro.
That was pretty devious, Scott.
I know. I loved it. I felt so good about it. Yeah, Gluka had so much to do with this project. I hated these banner.
Okay, SQ historian, I'm going to hold you to that flash mob commitment. Or a flash mob of 2.
It'll be in August. Okay. We join our friends.
So, how many death sequences do we have left to endure?
We had.
Should be wrapped.
Ken Allen and I worked so hard to get all this opening sequence so tight, and then Mark Siebert just totally hosed it.
We all kind of love Mark Siebert, though, so we don't want to.
No, we don't all love Mark Siebert. Some of us think he's a dick. I don't care what you say, Chris. The guy screwed this up royally, and I'm not going to act like he didn't. It's the truth. I don't give a shit what he thinks. He did it. He knows he did it. Ken did great work on this.
I don't think anybody's denying Ken did great work on this at all. I promise.
What they're denying is that Mark Siebert screwed it up. And that's a lie. I mean, it's a lie if you don't know that. I'm all for being relatively politically correct, but there's a limit. If somebody screwed the pooch on something, if somebody ruined somebody's good work, they should be called out for it. I made mistakes. I've called myself out on those. Mark and I have called ourselves out for making design mistakes. Mark Siebert totally hosed that opening sequence. It was beautiful.
So this is based on, I guess, the Star Wars New Hope scene. Scott, Mark, you said something about that?
The New Hope scene. Oh, yeah, roughly.
Here's the bar. Beautiful, beautiful artwork here. Cantina.
Yeah, we just can't seem to get away from the bars for some reason.
Yeah.
Is this something about those bars?
I think the weird thing is that Mark and I are not drinkers, other than the occasional. Now that we've both picked up an appreciation for microbreweries and stuff, but we never drank more than 1 or 2 beers, Mark, when we were together. We're not drinkers, right. So it's not like we had an intimate knowledge of bars. In fact, I always thought them to be really annoying places to be.
It's funny too when you think about it. This is unheard of in video games, is showing characters consuming alcoholic beverages. That's a big no-no in the console game industry, anyway.
Yeah,
obviously less so with PC games.
Yeah,
Not
I think it was
Roger's
before they started and it was before the ratings standards, I think, were established. Also, violence.
This predates that, you think?
I think so. I think it was right as it was being established, and so I think we kind of slid under that. I'm not certain. I'm totally guessing. Josh might have a better idea. Of the dates of when that stuff started becoming established.
The Admiral there says he became an alcoholic because of the mall chase scene in Space Force.
Sorry.
Hey, we're real sorry about that.
Yeah, I hope you're liberal.
Don't try to pin that on us, man.
Yeah. Josh doesn't.
Snuggles worth.
Josh can't help us on the ratings system. His mind is gone.
And that is all of that.
Oh, Crocodile, that's not true. the guys at Q42 are being great. They really we had one of the really key members of the team was on vacation last week, and Raul busted his butt to get things working on other browsers to our it really made us happy. I mean, he did a bunch of work on a Friday, and which is usually one of the least productive days of the week, and he kicked butt on it.
Yeah, he did awesome work. By the way, have we gone live with the latest?
Yes, we did.
Living concept art.
Yes, we
did. And as PCJ says, it still says get us to 300,000.
It should be refreshed. Raul was refreshing that. So.
Oh, hey, we're up to a flash mob.
Right. That should say 600,000.
We Frederick is saying that correction. The flash mob is up to 3 and possibly 4 now in Denmark. So they've okay, people. They have upped theirs by 100%. Let's see what you can do.
They have thrown down the gauntlet. All right,
guys.
They
have definitely. They have doubled the
flash mob wars.
Yes. 1 billion. Oh, that'd be nice. Then we could definitely put up that satellite.
All right, guys. Well, we hope you guys have enjoyed the
Space
Quest 4 commentary. We've been going at it for a good bit here, 2 hours and 20 minutes or so. And
gosh, it just seems like 6 hours.
We got some fun stuff to announce here coming up. Like the main character. It's about to happen.
Oh yeah.
Get ready.
I heard something about that. A little something.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember that.
Guys.
I remember that weekend, Ken, when we worked to get that stuff all synced up on the opening sequence. That was really fun. It was really a good team effort between the two of us to get that, and having the art assets that Mark provided us.
Great stuff. All right, guys. Two guys from Drama, and anything left to say you guys want to say before we sign off?
Only the usual, which is thank you guys so much for being here. We know it's tough for you guys to do so on a weekday at this hour, and we're sorry for whoever's listening to this on a recording that we weren't able to be live when you were off of work. But for our friends in Europe, on the other hand, we're glad that it's a little more decent hour for a change, and you're not watching the sun come up. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting us and all you're doing.
Yeah, thanks everybody. I forgot it was Monday. Huh. The days are just blending into each other as we race to the finish.
Yep. Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate all the support and everything in helping this move forward, and we will see you guys on the next episode. I've also got some cool interviews coming up that I think you guys are going to be excited about. So we will see you guys soon on that. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.